There must be a guardian angel watching over me.
Carl Dixon came and gave his story and sang some for us, sang some wonderful music he's been a part of, and he told a powerful story about the trials and tribulations he's been through over the last few years.
Such an inspiration and just such raw emotion up on the stage. He could have said, I'm the one that made it through, but again, he focused on the doctors and the medical team.
Nobody expected him to live after the accident. Nobody expected him to play music again, let alone walk again, and here he is, second year in a row, coming, talking to our summit, talking to us, and playing wonderful music, inspiring.
What we're going to talk about today is, I think, resilience and teamwork and coming back from being knocked on your bum and coming back strongly. But I think to set the tone for what I do and who I am, I'm going to play a song right out of the gate. How's that sound? Song?
That was the other thing I really like to see, is that he said, hey, here's how we can use music to help bring people together, to help change the mood, to help give us the right kind of attitude that we need to get through what we need to get through. That's another thing I really appreciated.
I had a group called Coney Hatch that got a record deal by the time we were all 22 or so, an international record deal. We had albums down here in the States, big tours with groups like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and a lot of the metal groups from the 80s. And we thought we were positioned to just take off. What I can say now in retrospect is that we didn't make it to the top, but we could see the top from where we were. The experience was great, though. We were on MTV. We had lots and lots of great shows in the NHL rinks. We were an opening act in almost every NHL rink at one time. That's in Canada, we measure success by whether you get to play in an NHL rink or not. That's when you know you're with the big boys. No matter how good we think we are dead in the water without the team that backs us up.
The one that got my attention right off the bat was when he was about to quit music and go teach English as a second language, and was told by his friend, his hockey player friend, not to stop doing what you're good at, but find a different venue.
I was taking classes on how to teach English as a second language. That's how much I thought I needed to get some kind of a revenue stream. My friend Pat Stapleton convinced me, you need to look in your field because of all the contacts you built up, the skill you built up, the knowledge you built up over all these years. Don't throw all that out and start in something completely unrelated and begin all over again. Look for things within your field that have a different application for what you already know how to do. So he turned my ship around in that moment and convinced me that I couldn't just throw it all away. And I started to work as a manager for an artist and a producer, a music producer. And that kept me in the game long enough for me to be ready to receive a call from the Guess Who. And they gave me a call suddenly one day in 1997. Carl, what are you doing? I said, well, I was just wondering what you guys are doing. So he said, we need a singer, can you audition? And that, just out of the blue, turned my uncertain career, suddenly gave it certainty, and suddenly I was back at that level of performing big shows for big audiences for good money.
A Canadian musician who almost died 2 years ago in a head-on smash in country Victoria has returned to track down the other driver and apologise. Carl Dixon admits to being on the wrong side of the road and is now trying to get his life back in order.
For almost 4 months, this was home as he battled to overcome horrific injuries following a head-on smash near Daylesford.
I was really just a mangled piece of roadkill almost that they pulled out of that wreck after 1 hour and 45 minutes of trying.
3 smashed limbs, brain damage, the loss of his left eye and a lacerated liver, Dixon was helpless. That
Was basically, for me, that 1 or 2 seconds of impact of the 2 cars. I went from being this guy you saw in the video with the Guess Who with the best job in the world, traveling around, making happy vibes like we all just felt in the room, to being crushed in a car wreck and peeled out of the wreckage, and in a coma for 10 days. It was doubtful whether I'd live, they said that first night. The blood loss was enormous. They were going to amputate this arm, and that's what I'm left with today from the work they did. They were going to amputate this leg. I could have very easily been a quadriplegic because I had a C7 fracture in my spine. This side of my head was bashed in from the car, so this is a phony eye. It looks nice, but it's a phony eye on this side. Got lots of scars. If you're ever wondering, just look what the scars are, and you'll see which one's the glass eye. They drilled a hole in my head to let the pressure off, and all kinds of internal injuries. Brain damage was suspected also. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Of course, you don't have a baseline, right? You didn't know me before, so.
Just appreciate it as a positive attitude for something so bad that could have turned to a real negative. So we can all learn from him.
Just such an inspiration and just such raw emotion up on the stage, whether he's playing his music or telling his story, and it was very touching, just the perseverance and the teamwork.
And after 10 days in a coma, I came to, and I had no idea where I was or what had happened or how I'd gotten there. The first guy on the scene was the captain of the local volunteer fire department emergency crew, and his daughter had just graduated from paramedic school that week, so they were able to help. They called in their team of paramedics to, I guess, pry me out of the car eventually with the jaws of life, meanwhile calling in the chopper crew from Melbourne. I had all those people working furiously to keep me alive and to free me from that wreckage. I remember being told later that the helicopter crew talking to the policeman who was on the scene, and he said, well, what are his chances? And they looked at him and shook their heads and said, no chance for this guy. They were just basically going through the motions to get me there back to the hospital as fast as they could, but it was bad. The only part of me that wasn't hurt was this arm and this shoulder, which is ironic because I dislocated this shoulder 7 times earlier in my life playing hockey. That was the only part of me that wasn't hurt this time. So as I looked down at myself, inevitably, the songwriter in me started to come to the surface again. And I thought, man, I'm covered in stitches and sutures and staples. And then I thought, that's musical.